to see a character that I played, that I helped, you know, bring into existence, and it was something, a reference point for other people, which meant that they got to see themselves on screen, and this is a fictional woman, you know? And so I guess that's what it is that my frustration is not just with this systemic issue, but what it does to our own sense of curiosity about what we can create.
Well, this is what I was saying about, you know, the culture is created by stories, and culture tells us what we are and what we can't be. Is if you grow up and you never see, like, for instance, I you know, Do the Right Thing. I say the name of that movie like 25 times whenever I talk about my movie, because if it wasn't for seeing that movie when I was 13 or 14 or whatever, I wouldn't know that like black stories could be told that way. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it just wouldn't even occur to me. And like, and it goes back to what Kevin was saying. Like, we are really quick to shade our stories if they don't exactly tell the story the way we would have told it, though. You know, and it's because we have so few stories, and that's natural. But we have to support the stuff that's outside the lines. Otherwise, we won't. You know, you talked about X-Men. You talked about Spider-Man. Those are stories that were written by immigrants. Okay, they were immigrants to this country in the '60s, like Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. These folks, like, they weren't quote-unquote Americans. Those have become, you know, they became white over time, but they were talking very specifically about the Irish and the Jewish immigrant experiences in New York. We have that opportunity now to be the mainstream stories, okay, of tomorrow. But that doesn't happen if we shade on everything that everybody else is doing, because it ain't the way we would do it, okay? Like, if you don't see yourself in the culture, put yourself there, and don't, like, stomp on people that are doing it, because we really do have to support each other and come up together. That's the only way we're gonna break out of the world. Okay, I'm going to say this too. The diversity hire exec is also sometimes a problem. Like, when it's only one black person, like, you know, that can even be worse, because that person becomes your person, and that person is terrified of being wrong about blackness, and therefore, you know, it's just not the natural relationship that I would have came in with if I was a white dude talking about my white experience. You know, I wouldn't have had that situation. So yeah, I definitely, I fielded some odd executive questions, you know, but I think for me, like,
being very generous.
Yeah, I think for me though, like, especially for my first film, Dear White People, you know, I just had to know where my parameters were, and I wasn't gonna make some bullshit. I just wasn't. I was gonna make something that I believed in, you know, and I wasn't willing to take certain compromises. I mean, but yeah, because you're gonna get that. You're gonna get that for sure. And I think it is our job to sort of, by hook or by crook, get our stories told. And sometimes you can do that within the system. You know, I'm working on a studio movie right now, and that's going well. But sometimes if you can't do it within the system, you do have to bust out and get the story told by hook or by crook.
I think it's important that we recognize we do have power. A lot of that power comes from, you know, as has been discussed, whether it be picking up a pen and learning how to write. I was reading this book, Between the World and Me, the Ta-Nehisi Coates book.
For those of you who have not read it, read this book.
I read it twice, and I'm still just Between the World and Me.
Ta-Nehisi Coates.
It's amazing. He's talking, and just briefly, he's just talking about how so often as people of color, we're taught you have to do everything twice as good and twice as good and be so much better and do so. And I feel that way so often in this business. Like, when my script can't just be a script that has heart and represents my artistic perspective and is subversive, so they should read it. It has to do other things. If not, it's just not going to get read in the same way. Which is why when this brother created the platform he did, it just allowed a throughway for people. At least, you know, if 5 people say something's going to make money and they matter and they read it on his platform, guess what? It doesn't matter what it looks like. They're going to put the money into it because they want to make money. So we just can't be disillusioned about where we are now. So will things change? Yes, things are constantly changing, but we just have to make sure that we keep a close, watchful eye on the barometer. You know, how much is it changing, and what does that mean for the artist? And making the film, you know, Birth of a Nation, I wanted something to be disruptive. I wanted something to be unapologetic, and I wanted something that, you know, to create something that, you know, my kids could say, I have a hero, and Nat Turner's my hero, and that be okay. That my hero, Nat Turner, is not demonized for doing the thing that America does almost every day.
Office for films that are diverse, but at a minimum, by greenlighting a film that stars people of color, or is about people of color, or is written and directed by a person of color, that is not an immediate knock against its likely box office. 1. 2, I think it's incumbent upon communities of color to continue making exceptional content and making it, whether it's for the studios or for the television networks or for the internet or for their community of friends, and continuing to sort of push the bar of what exceptional content is. I mean, I look at sort of everyone else here on stage. They've been involved in creating stuff that is undeniable. Whether you're black, white, green, purple, whatever, if you make great stuff, it will find a way. And so I think as long as those two things are true, you will see a massive sea change in the way in which Hollywood makes films. If you don't, we'll go back to making monochromatic content for upper middle class white folks.
And when Empire came around, I mean, look, this is about, right now, black is back. And beautiful, and it's always been beautiful. But now everybody got the memo. So what's amazing is I'm getting scripts from Gina Prince Blythewood, and I'm getting scripts from, so all of these amazing people of color are grazing my desk now. And it's exciting. And I think I'm under so many layers, but once again, it goes to the prime point, it goes to the groundswell. Like, I'd like to think the system isn't broken, because Empire reaches almost 19 to 20 million people, and Lee Daniels had said, I wanted to do my project on basic cable because my family can't afford to watch HBO and Cinemax. So most of these creatives I want to be in business with because Justin is an exceptional visionary, period. Tessa, I'm obsessed with. Nate, like, we'd love, it's just, it goes without saying. Everyone on here is just exemplary in their own way. So to say that the system is broken and faulty and can't work and we have to do projects outside of it, I think we have to make a way to do both.
Yep.
It makes money.
Well, I want to challenge the notion that Hollywood is all about the money. Because there's been plenty of data points for literally decades at this point that would suggest that, black people can make money at the box office. I mean, and anytime you cite these sort of data points to people sort of in the positions of power that have the green light and authority, the answer is, well, that's the exception that proves the rule. What about Will Smith? He's arguably the biggest star internationally in the world. Well, he's an exception. He's a special case. Okay, what about Denzel? Well, that's two, but what about Jamie Foxx? Well, what about the fact that 12 Years a Slave did what, 120 foreign? Well, that's, it's special cases that won the Oscar. Well, what about, how The Butler did? What about the fact that Big Mama's House made 70 million foreign? I mean, like,
what about that fact?
I mean, exactly. But I guess my point is that, like, there are dozens of data points that counter the conventional wisdom that you can't sell black people overseas. But still, to this day, if you were to bring a piece of material to a studio and say, this is an exceptionally written script with a bunch of Academy Award, Tony-nominated actors involved, they'll say, yeah, we have to make it like the $12 million budget or $20 million budget because there's no foreign on this. And then you ask them, well, do you market the films abroad? Well, no, we don't market them because you can't sell them to those audiences. Well, if you don't market them, how do you expect people to know they're there? I mean, and this is like a cyclical thing. So I'm not suggesting that there's an implicit racism or sort of hatred of black people in it. I'm implying that there's fundamental stupidity. No, hang on. I want to be very, very clear about this.
They will, so you don't have to.
I'm saying that it has nothing to do with hatred of black people. I'm saying that it has to do with stupidity and a fundamental misunderstanding of economics.
What excites me is that I think there is so much opportunity for us to band together people like us who can say, hey, let's make this movie. Who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? Who can run a camera? But we can like get the stuff and make the stuff and crowdfund it and make our own content. And at the same time, I think the studio system is starting to realize, oh wait, hold on, we're gonna lose our people, so we got to figure out how to service the people because they're going outside of us. So let's figure it out. And I really am trying to be hopeful.